All right, welcome into the Paul Farrington Show. Paul joined alongside Robert Ziggy Ziegler at the University of Virginia and producer Zach Bloomquist, the best executive producer in the game. And hey, guys, how about a round of applause? A very happy show right now in week one. Vikings win, Dolphins win, almost the Bears loss. That would have been really nice. Steelers win for Jack. Jack's not here today. He's a little bit under the weather.
Bryce looks terrible.
Yeah, Jack's takes on Caleb and Bryce. Looking better than expected, at least from me and Ziggy's point of view, right off the bat to start the NFL season. But we'll go from the very beginning here, and just to say, Ziggy, it's bold of you to wear that Notre Dame hoodie that you have on right now.
Well, yeah, I mean, Friday and Saturday were some of the worst football days in the history of my life.
Yeah, the Jordan Love near injury, and hey, you know we're rooting against the Packers, but we understand at the same time. First, we don't want to see anyone get injured, and then we also know how important Jordan Love is to this channel. So that was almost bad for us. But Jordan Love, we'll talk about him a little bit at the end of the show. What wound up happening with his injury? Of course, Notre Dame, horrendous loss. So bad start to the weekend, but a good Sunday for the Paul Farrington Show. And we'll lead right into the Vikings 28-6 win over the Giants. Go ahead. What?
Don't you have a whole spiel you have to read off at the start of the show?
Oh, all right. If you want me to hit that, okay. Please remember to like, comment, subscribe, of course, to our show. And hey, guys, today was the first week of the Paul Farrington Pick'em Show League, by the way. So
I got absolutely screwed.
You got crushed.
I had so many of those like teams that were underdogs that were great in the first half. Like I had the Jaguars, I had the Cardinals, I had the Titans. And I'm like, all right, I'm climbing to the top of the leaderboard.
And those would have been big wins too, because you had some underdogs there. But yeah, a lot of the favorites towards the end of the game kind of came back and pulled away. Outside of there were a few towards the end. Cincinnati and New England, that was a good one. But yeah, the Pick'em League is going right now. You can still join that again. You'll be a little bit behind the 8 ball, but if you want to join the league, weeks 4, 8, 12, 16, we'll be doing individual week giveaways where the winner of that week will win a t-shirt from the show. You have to become a member to do that. And to become a channel member, you just go over to our homepage, and next to the logo, you can hit join to become a member. So we appreciate everyone who's been playing. We have a really big Pick'em League, way bigger, frankly, than we expected, which is awesome. So yeah, become a member to join that. And then, of course, if you can't listen to us on YouTube, you can check us out on audio wherever you listen to your podcast. I hope you're happy with that spiel there, Ziggy. Now we can.
I mean, look, it's somebody's got to keep you in line, and producer Zach's asleep at the wheel. So
Zach is asleep, but he's too excited about the Dolphins win. We'll get there though. To start off, the Vikings 28-6 over the Giants. And you know what? I was so tired this weekend just listening to Giants fans. We live in New Jersey here. We have a lot of friends who are Giants fans. A lot of people we know talking trash all weekend. Vikings were a 1.5-point favorite, and it was just. Sam Darnold's horrible. This Giants front seven is going to destroy you. You have no idea what's coming. Daniel Jones is better. We have Malik Neighbors now. All this noise all weekend long. And what do? We just take. We know we can't dish it out right now. We're not expected to be very good. But then what happens? Sunday shows up, and Sam Darnold. I mean, that's the best. That's one of the best games of Sam Darnold's life right there. In the 28-6 win, Sam was just from the start. Played exceptional outside the interception where his arm got crushed. He finished 19 for 24, 208 yards, 2 touchdowns, and the interception. Sacked only one time. That extremely scary, ferocious Giants front line. 1 sack for a 7-yard loss. Aaron Jones was great. People were worried about him being washed up. Ziggy, 14 carries for 94 yards and a touchdown. Justin Jefferson, 59 yards, a touchdown himself. The only negative is that Jordan Addison walked away. Re-injuring that ankle that he had hurt earlier in training camp. And the defense, Ziggy. I know it's Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones was 22 for 42, 186 yards and 2 interceptions. But, I mean, the defense was great. Phenomenal all day. Getting after him, interceptions. Like, I was really pleased. Despite the opponent, we know the Giants are going to be horrible. I was really pleased. I don't think you could be happier as a Viking fan than what you got today.
I mean, of course, Sam Darnold walks into MetLife, his home turf, and just lights it up. We've seen that a whole bunch of times before. This might actually have been one of his best times at MetLife in his career.
It probably was. It was probably the best.
But yeah, it's just, as he said, it's exciting to see this Vikings team come out, and all of the new guys that the Vikings were hoping would come in and be big contributors were. Right? Sam Darnold comes in. Aaron Jones comes in. Huge engines of our offense. Right. And again, the Giants defense, that front seven, even though it seems Giants fans might have talked them up a little bit too much, those are good players. The
Oh
fact that
yeah,
we
very
were
good.
able to execute against that defense does mean something. Andrew Van Ginkel, right? In case there was any chance of the Giants closing that gap, which was unlikely, just brings it home in a pick six. Dallas Turner, important sack, looked great on the field. Like there were just all of the new additions contributed just like we were hoping. And, as they were talking about it, if you were watching Red Zone, they said, look, every single game is within one score except for two. The Saints-Panthers blowout and the Vikings-Giants blowout, right? You would have thought, oh, Cincinnati, they can handle the Patriots easily. They can't. So winning an NFL game against an opponent on the road with a new quarterback, new guys on defense, that's great news.
No, this is for Vikings fans just to come out and absolutely dominate the way they did. I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves because we personally expected to win this game. Most Vikings fans expected to win this game. It's the next like six, the 49ers, Texans, Packers, although Love will probably be out for that. The Jets, the Lions, the Rams. Those are the games now where we're going against tougher opponents, tougher quarterbacks. We have to see what happens there. But I was so pleased with the defense. That was my big worry this season. It wasn't actually Sam Darnold. It was the defense coming out. And just remember a couple of years ago, the Giants were horrible. The playoff Giants team was not very good.
It's one of the worst teams to ever make the playoffs.
Yeah, just against us, Daniel Jones looked like Joe Montana. He threw for 300 yards in both those games. I was at the playoff game where I swear to God, people are more open in that playoff game than I've ever seen receivers running open in the field. But it just shows how important it is to have a couple guys you didn't mention who are new additions, Shaq Griffin and Stephon Gilmore. Like the secondary was completely overhauled at cornerback position, along with Byron Murphy Jr., who comes back from last year. I thought they played really well, and it'll be exciting to watch them next week, having to deal with Ayuk and Debo McCaffrey. It's very possible that they just get lit up and torched, and we're sitting here a week from now completely sad. But for 1 week in, I was really happy with how Brian Flores. Clearly Daniel Jones was uncomfortable. He's confused a lot. Brian Flores will get another head coaching opportunity. That's just going to happen. So as Vikings fans, we got to enjoy this right now because we have a great coaching staff. We have unbelievable playmakers, and the defense was flying around. And that's the first time we've seen that really in like 4 years. The defense has been horrible for like 4 years. So I was thrilled. 1 to 10, Ziggy. Where are you at on the Vikings post week 1?
How am I feeling about this game, or how do I feel about the rest of their season?
Going forward, because this game was awesome. Going forward,
if you'd asked me before this game, I would have put him at a 3. Right now, I'd put him at like a 4.5 or a 5.
yeah,
I still think, yeah, like, are they going to be real contenders in the NFC? Almost certainly not. And I'm putting them at that 4.5 or a 5 because I don't want to adjust them down a bunch when they lose games we expect them to lose. But it was a competent team with a competent offense and a good defense. And it's just nice to watch some Vikings football that doesn't make you roll your eyes or want to strangle yourself.
Yeah, and when you say legitimate threat in the NFC, that I'm thinking like the Eagles, the 49ers.
Yeah, they're nowhere near there. Those are
Lions.
teams that are like 8s,
But
9s,
you could not have sat back and watched the Bears and the Vikings today and said, "Oh, Chicago." Like everyone was talking about the Bears being the wild card. I think in Vegas, the Bears were favored to make the playoffs. They were minus 104 to get in the playoffs. You can't watch those two games today and say, "Oh, the Bears are light years ahead of the Vikings," like some people were going into today. So why don't we go ahead? Actually, we could go to the Bears. We're going to hit a different game first, but why don't we hit the Bears and the Titans here since we brought them up? Another NFC North team, and this was so frustrating. As NFC North fans, as a Vikings fan, watching this game and seeing the Titans 17-3 halftime lead, Caleb Williams' debut. That's all everyone wanted to talk about was Caleb Williams' debut with the Bears. And frankly, it was disappointing. He was 14 for 29 for 93 yards, took a couple horrible sacks. I mean, that first half, anything that could go wrong if you were a Bears fan was going wrong. The horrendous kickoff, the muffed kickoff. I think you were sitting there in Soldier Field saying, "Are you kidding me? Like all this hype and this is the product we're getting after Hard Knocks and everything." 17-3 to the Titans. And then all of a sudden, luck changes, goes their way. The winds change in Soldier Field, and they have a blocked punt return touchdown, interception return touchdown, another pick. The defense completely carried the day here, but it's important because it's all about winning. At the end of the day, it's wins or losses, And the vibe in Chicago is going to be a whole lot better with a win and a disappointing Caleb Williams performance than if it were a loss and a disappointing Caleb Williams performance.
That is true, but I do not agree that it's all about wins. That might be how Bears fans feel right now. When you go 2 for 13 on third down, when you have 64 total passing yards with 150 total yards on offense, when you're putting out 2.8 yards per play, like the offense was just plain bad. And I know it's Caleb Williams' first game, and I know that it's bad against the Tennessee Titans defense is pretty good, but it was just, I mean, this game was tough to watch, right? Caleb Williams, and I don't say this lightly, he got absolutely carried by the special teams and defense. Let's not forget, right? Some of those points they were able to squeeze in with that field goal. Like they had good special teams all game. They had good defense all game. And like fair credit to you, right? That's part of the game. You win football games that way. That's fine. But the goal of this season, I've been saying it the whole time, is to show that Caleb Williams can be the guy. And today, you didn't see that at all.
No, it wasn't really even close to that. The stat that you came on right before we started, and they said it a bunch on the broadcast, the first number one overall pick to win since David Carr back in, what was it, 2002, right? I mean, yeah, it's been 22 years since the number one overall pick has won in their debut week one game. But Caleb Williams, so yes, they get the job done. If you're a Bears fan, though, and again, this is as a Vikings fan, so I'm trying to be as unbiased as I possibly can. I'm disappointed with the way Caleb looked, but I'm not panicking at all. Like, I'm really not panicking at all. It was a bad debut. Everyone just seemed a little bit off on that offense, but that's kind of how it goes sometimes. Very rarely do you see guys just come in and light the league on fire from their first snaps. Get adjusted a little bit, get out there. I'm sure we'll see some big Caleb Williams plays in the near future, but to be able to escape with the win when your offense looked that bad the entire game, that's the positive. Because this defense, it showed up and it won the game. And if you could flip the switch, that's when the Bears fans are saying, okay, this is the team we think can get to the playoffs and potentially make a little noise.
Yeah, and I don't want to say that it's all on Caleb Williams, right? Keenan Allen dropped a layup touchdown pass from Caleb Williams. If that had been completed, the stat line would have looked differently. Like there's a lot that could have happened, and plenty of pieces around Caleb Williams let him down too. So that gives you some optimism, I think. Like Keenan Allen, he's been at this a long time. We know if he's a good player. He is. He will be just fine. He'll turn it around. DJ Moore, the same thing. DeAndre Swift, probably the same thing. But you can't count on a special teams and a defense touchdown every game.
No, you really can't. And that's, what was it, the 2018 Bears? That's the team with 27 turnovers or 27 interceptions, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And,
your luck runs out eventually. It just does.
Bears fans will remember from that year. But we were sitting here most of that game thinking we were going to come in very Titan-centric. You predicted them to win the AFC South, and Will Levis looked good early on. Tony Pollard got involved. And all of a sudden there, to have a defense that's able to take over a game the way the Bears did today, that's important, and that can win you games later in the season. So I would say generally speaking, an optimistic day for Chicago, but you don't want to see a repeat of this in week 2 if you're a Bears fan.
How on earth did Titans plus 4.5 not hit?
Was it 17-0?
I can't remember if it was 17-0. I think it was 17-0, and then it became 17-3.
I was sitting back in my chair just smiling. I was watching the Vikings run up the score on New York. The Bears are losing. I see all these NFC teams going down, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, the Packers are 0-1. Chicago's going to be 0-1. Detroit's got a tough game coming up tonight. Like, are we really going to be sitting here in first place? And then, it's how quick it happens in the NFL. But for the Bears, congratulations. That was a big win for those guys, even though it sucks to see it.
I do want to talk about the Titans just a little bit.
Please, because that's your team.
Yeah, I know that the collapse down the stretch was a real disappointment, but I think leaving this game, even though that's one of the most painful ways to lose there is, you have a big lead, you blow it on special teams and with a pick 6, and then you move on. There was a lot to like about this. Will Levis looked pretty good for a lot of the game. I know he made, in his own words, he made some boneheaded plays at the end that cost them the game. But he looked good for a lot of the game against a Bears defense that, let's not forget, right? last year for the second half of the stretch, ever since they added Montez Sweat, was a very good defense.
Oh
They've
yeah,
got a good
great defense.
secondary. They've got a good defensive line. They've got good backers. And he was effective against them for a lot of the game. He was effective on the ground. He made some big passes. Tony Pollard was able to get things moving. And obviously, on the defensive side, you have to be thrilled about holding the Bears to under 150 total yards.
Yeah, generally speaking, I thought Tennessee for that first half. I was like, wow, Ziggy nailed this. These guys are going to be a problem. And I really thought Will Levis looked good, and it turned. But you know what? He's still a young quarterback as well. Calvin Ridley looked solid. He had a few moments in the game where nice for the debut of Calvin Ridley. Like this, the Titans team is going to hang around. They're not going to be an easy win for anybody throughout the season. So we'll pay close attention to them. But disappointing loss. I mean, you can't, if you're a Titans fan, you got to be kicking.
Oh, yeah.
Right now.
It feels worse than it is, but it's still
It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad to shut down the Bears offense the way they did and still lose the game. When you have interception returns, block punt return touchdowns, that is a horrible feeling to lose that football game.
You can't put up, if they put up anything more than 0 points in the second half, they probably win.
Yeah, they probably do. Speaking of the AFC South, the game that we were arguably most looking forward to today, outside of the Viking game, was Texans-Colts, because we've had a lot of fun watching Anthony Richardson and CJ Stroud, and the game did deliver on everything we were hoping for. Starting from the Texans blocked, or the Colts blocked punt. I don't know if you saw this, Ziggy, but right around the same time that Chicago blocked the punt, the Colts also blocked one, and from then on, here's how the possessions went. Touchdown Indianapolis, touchdown Houston, touchdown Indianapolis, touchdown Houston, touchdown Indianapolis. End of game for Houston. They ran out the clock. So just complete fireworks to end that one. 29-27, as I said. And for Houston, we were talking about this before. You got to see all of the weapons on full display here. Joe Mixon had 30 carries for 159 yards and a touchdown. Yeah, I mean, hey, you were down on him all year, but the volume he's going to get in this Texans offense is going to be crazy for fantasy managers who own Joe Mixon. And then from the receivers, Nico Collins, Tank Dell, and Stephon Diggs, they all contributed, and Nico Collins in a big way.
Yeah, this Texans offense is going to be a problem. And the Colts run defense absolutely did not get it done today. I mean, again, even if you were higher than on Joe Mixon than I was, I don't think anybody was expecting to put up 160 yards.
No,
on the ground.
I did not.
And it seemed like basically any time the Texans wanted to gain yards, they could just hand it to Joe Mixon. And, he averaged 5.3 yards a carry. That was very good. Another sort of interesting thing that I noticed about this Texans offense is while Stephon Diggs got the touchdowns, right? He had the biggest plays of the game. When the Texans really needed something to happen, who did they target? Answer: Nico Collins. Only 6 receptions, the same number as Stephon Diggs, but when you needed a big third down or you needed a big play to try and get some momentum, he was the guy who delivered on those important plays and kept the drives going. And that's why this Texans deep offense is going to be so hard to deal with if you're an NFL defense. You have to have a great run defense to stop Joe Mixon. Then you've got to be able to stop Nico Collins. Then if you can do that, you still have to worry about Tank Dell and Stephon Diggs. There's just so many weapons. You have to worry about CJ Stroud on the ground now. Mm-hmm. He had a great game. He had some important rushes. It's tough to cover this team, man.
Well, and especially because of the way they can attack you. Where you had Tank Dell taking reverses. You had, of course, you said Mixon in the rushing game. You send Nico deep. Like they can just they're so creative with their offense that it's tough to stop. And Stroud, I was watching most of the game today, and I thought Stroud was good, not great. But he ended 24 for 32, 234 yards and 2 touchdowns. Like CJ Stroud had really good. If you just look at the box score, you go, wow, this Texans team, like they lit it up. I thought that there were a few throws in here and there that were dangerous, maybe ill-advised for Stroud that could have resulted in disaster. But overall, as this Texans team continues to grow, continues to gel, you got to remember there are new pieces and new faces on this offense as well. It's even though it feels like they're going to come in and score 40 points a game, inserting Stephon Diggs and Joe Mixon are 2 really big names, high volume guys that you got to figure out how's the flow going to work. It's going to be an exciting year for Houston to open up with a win like this on the road. On a great start.
Yeah, they're going to have to find better ways to protect CJ Stroud,
Yep.
right? The Texans handed the ball off, 36 times this game. Still, he took 4 sacks, 10 hits on top of that, plus 2 more tackles when he ran. You don't want your quarterback taking 16 hits in a game, especially not a game where you're dominating on the ground and he doesn't need to. So that's going to have to improve. And I think that's a lot of why watching CJ Stroud looked a little bit different than the numbers, because 10 QB hits don't show up on the stat line anywhere, but they wear on a quarterback.
Yep.
Still, though, this Texans team is going to be good.
They're going to be fun. I'm not ready to put them on the same level as Baltimore, Kansas City, maybe Buffalo after what we saw today, just because of how much Josh Allen's going to have to carry them. But yeah, they're right there. And by the end of the season, I wouldn't be surprised at all if this Texans team is on the same level as the top dogs. To the Colts, real quick. Richardson was someone that we look forward to watching basically the entire season. And really last year, some of our first big videos were Anthony Richardson related. And when he got hurt, I remember how crushed you were, particularly as you had a fondness for Anthony Richardson. But to see him come in today, and again, some spectacular plays, a little bit of what we saw last year, some just crazy plays. The first touchdown to Alec Pierce, what was it, 60-yarder, 65-yarder?
Yeah.
It just launched it 70 yards in the air. We got a bunch of people over watching the games, and I'm sitting there on my iPad. I just said, holy crap. Like, what's going on? I'm saying, Anthony Richardson just threw one of the nicest passes I've ever seen in my life. And then he comes back on the next drive and overthrows an open receiver in the end zone and throws an interception. And it's kind of what you have to deal with right now with Anthony Richardson is the spectacular plays and then some of the boneheaded decisions where you go, how could you possibly do that? But today, generally speaking, the positive far outweighed the negative, in my opinion. You saw a future superstar.
Yeah, this is the thing about Anthony Richardson is I think people sometimes confuse him with big play quarterbacks. Guys who come into the league where it's like, oh, they've got so much big play potential and then they never actually do anything with it, right? A lot of these incredibly athletic quarterback types sort of fit into that category. Anthony Richardson makes the big plays. He will throw the perfect 65-yard bomb. He will somehow score a touchdown after 8 guys are on top of him somehow. Like, Anthony Richardson is able to do that. If he could just be a little bit more consistent,
yes,
he would be unstoppable.
Yep.
You look at the Colts, right? And they've got Alec Pierce had 3 catches for 125 yards. Ashton Dolan had 1 catch for 54 yards. Otherwise, there was basically no receiving game, right? Michael Pittman had 31 yards. Adonai Mitchell had 2 yards, and that was it. You look at the running game, right? Anthony Richardson had some big runs. Otherwise, Jonathan Taylor just wasn't able to get it going. 16 carries for 48 yards. So they're so reliant on the Richardson big play, and he can deliver often enough to give you 27 points and a chance to beat a good Houston Texans team. Like, he'll give you big plays every single game. They just need to become a little bit more consistent, and they can be a real contender for the division.
I mean, yeah, he had 9 completions and 212 yards passing. 9 completions. That's like CJ Stroud. We talked about him. 24 completions, 234 yards. Anthony Richardson had 15 less completed passes and nearly the same amount of yards. It just insane. And on the ground too, he had a couple big runs, 120-yarder. He finished 6 carries for 56 yards and a touchdown as well. Oh, how about producer Zach? By the way, these anytime touchdowns, Ziggy, are out of control. I mean, Zach, I wish you had a camera on you right now. What have you hit so far? You hit Pacheco in the first game. You hit Saquon.
I hit Saquon and Christian Watson.
Yep, Saquon as the first touchdown as well with Christian Watson later in the game.
Mm-hmm.
And then today you had Juwan Johnson.
I had Juwan Johnson.
James Conner.
And Anthony Richardson.
And who'd you missed on one, right?
Kyler.
You missed on Kyler Murray.
Yeah.
So to start the season right now, you're 7 for 8.
Yeah. Kyler was a long shot. Kyler and Juwan.
I don't know how we have the Jack Cap of the week and not an anytime touchdown Zach segment right now. That our friend Sebastian said that earlier. He said we got to get Zach a graphic right here.
What are you gonna do? I'm just hitting these things. I got Mike Evans. Let's see if he does it.
Yeah, I love Zach. Just like Ziggy right now, Zach is up 2 feet away from the microphone, just casually speaking at low volume about how good he is at anytime touchdowns.
Well, he doesn't want people to know, because if people knew, then the lines would get adjusted and then he wouldn't be making as much money.
Yeah, exactly. that checks out. But yeah, Zach, unbelievable job again. And when Anthony Richardson ran in the end zone, I think everyone in the basement turned and looked at you and went, "Did you actually have?" He's like, yeah, I hit again." Um, so to wrap up the Colts here, if you're a Colts fan, again, sucks to lose to a division opponent, especially in a close game. You couldn't get that last stop on defense. But to see Anthony Richardson after an entire year gone from his whole rookie season, essentially, in just his fourth career full game, maybe third career full game played, I think you have so much to be excited about. That's what made this game so enticing for us. Is the potential of these two teams is off the charts.
Yeah, and it's the thing to watch is the next 3 games for the Colts are very winnable. First, they go to Green Bay, which looked like it was going to be very hard, but Jordan Love won't be there. Then you host the Bears, who couldn't score a touchdown. Then you host the Steelers, who couldn't score a touchdown. So Anthony Richardson has a chance, even with this loss, to get the team off to a 2-2 or even 3-1 start, which would have them live for the playoffs. So if they can keep this up, he gets a little bit better. I'm not talking a lot here, and the big plays keep coming. It is totally possible that this Colts team is a playoff threat later into the season.
Completely agree with you. Let's go over to the Jaguars and the Dolphins. Zach, we're gonna bring you in for this one. I wish we had a camera on you, because Zach's here in his Tua Tagovailoa jersey, just looking sharp, cleaned up the beard. He's feeling good after a first half of a lot of bitching and moaning from Zach about Tua and the Dolphins failing to live up to his expectations.
No,
The tides
they still didn't live up to my
They
expectations.
still did.
No.
You're still not happy.
No, we should have crushed the Jaguars.
The Jaguars are a good team. This is a really big win. When come playoff time, this could matter for tiebreakers too.
Yeah, I mean it's a big win, but we should have. I mean, we looked awful for 4 quarters, and we just kind of squeaked out a victory.
That's why this show works, is because producer Zach demands perfection, and from his team, from the show itself. So he keeps us in line here. Zach, would you say, just give me your thoughts on Tua? I know you said you weren't happy, but in the second half, you had to be pleased with the big plays.
Yeah, Tua looked good today. I think I was more upset that our run game wasn't as good from last year to this year. But Tua looked pretty good. I'll give it to him. Made some good passes here and there, but
what's great about the Dolphins and could keep you in any game is just that big play, the home run threat that you have. And when you're down, what were you down before the 17-7? Before the Tyreek touchdown?
Yes.
And that kind of sparked life back into Hard Rock Stadium, into the Dolphins team, it seemed. Like that threat is still there. Jalen Waddle had a couple big plays as well. As long as you're able to keep those guys healthy, which remember last season, how it all fell apart at the end. Who was making plays at the end? Jalen Phillips was getting big sacks. You saw Tyreek with the touchdowns. All the guys who are banged up or out for the season. You see how good this Dolphins team can be. And I don't care what you say. The Jaguars is a big win. I thought it was awesome for you guys to come in and kind of steal that one in some ways from Jacksonville in the Florida rivalry game. Ziggy, I don't know how closely you were watching Jags-Dolphins, but did you have any takeaways?
Cartavius Bigsby, aka Tanks Bigsby.
Yeah, that pissed me off as an ETN owner.
I will say this is for both of these teams, I think this was really a must-win game because both of them are sort of on the fringes and are trying to show that they can be a big dog in the AFC this year. The Jaguars, after that incredible choke job, the Dolphins on the base of the fact that they've never beaten a good team since Tua joined them. Like both of these teams had something to prove. And today it was the Dolphins that came out on top. And that actually does make me worry long-term about whether the Jaguars are going to be able to get it done. Trevor Lawrence played an okay game, but it was not a great one. Some things went well. Some things went really poorly. The run game for the Jaguars was good, but I don't know. Brian Thomas looked pretty good, but otherwise I'm not confident in these Jaguars receivers. It was not a very good game for them. And I'm worried as they're trying to be a team that can win their division and go on a run in the AFC playoffs. If you can't beat a Dolphins team that, as producer Zach said, really was not at their best this game, I am not sure that you're going to be able to do a whole lot for the rest of the season.
I mean, 0 points in the second half is going to kill you against basically anyone. Any team in the AFC, because the AFC teams can put up points quick. You got to be able to score. And that's something that Jacksonville, in the past, they've had trouble just being consistent. That's kind of their mantra right now is that they're either the 8-3 team that's competing for the 1 seed or, with banged up Trevor, they were terrible down the stretch. And I know that there's injuries involved there, but To steal a win in Miami would have been a great start to that season. So you gotta be super disappointed. If 12 carries for 73 yards for Tank Bigsby, I'm not happy about that at all. Okay, couple more games here, and then we'll wrap up with just a quick update on Jordan Love, the Steelers and the Falcons. So Jack's battling a cold today, but he's back home, and I would say he was pleased to win, but he was particularly happy about TJ Watt, who I think I said he was my defensive player of the year in our prediction show. TJ Watt just has this ability, maybe unlike anyone I've seen in the NFL currently, to kind of single-handedly win games. And
on defense, you mean?
On defense, yes, on defense. Where Myles Garrett, Micah Parsons, they are of course on that same level, but TJ Watt always seems to have just a game-changing play, like recovering a fumble or a pick six. It's always a little bit extra. Like the Steelers had 6 field goals today. They had no business beating the Falcons. And somehow, some way, TJ Watt's in the backfield every other play. And Kirk Cousins, we know that that's the problem. As Vikings fans, we know better than anyone. When he's getting pressured, that's when he makes mistakes. That's when he's fumbling. And that's when it can fall apart for Atlanta. And TJ Watt was just an absolute beast today. I thought he was easily the MVP of the game.
Has any player ever had 2 strip sacks taken away in the same game?
I'm sure TJ Watt had it done to him at some point.
Yeah, I'm not going to say that on the offsides he didn't deserve it. I don't know. It's close to tell. But having 2 strip sacks taken away from you has to be demoralizing. And yeah, as you say, right, like the Steelers offense, they weren't able to get much done. They had what? They didn't have any turnovers, which was nice, but besides that 4th and 1 almost conversion, they weren't able to get anything going. Justin Fields was okay, but again, no touchdowns. Boswell fortunately hit all 6 of his field goals, but it really was the defense taking Kirk Cousins and the Falcons and saying, all right, we know you've been the offseason darlings. Everybody's talking about you, especially the Paul Farrington show. They won't stop talking about you guys.
I wish I'm going to go out and show the Steelers. I was close, but Jack is sitting here saying they were going to get ran out of the building.
Yeah, I mean, I do think you can see what they saw in Justin Fields this game, because while Justin Fields wasn't outstanding in any way, he was responsible for about 200 yards between passing and running, and they managed to avoid some of the big mistakes that he's been known for in his career. So you can see why they might think that he's the guy of more upside and why it was such a close competition. But the fact that the defense gave up 54 yards in the second half, and again, we saw another game where in the second half, a team that got off to a lead was not able to put up a single point. That was a statement win, even if it's not a big win, even if they didn't score any touchdowns, even if it's not against one of the best teams in the NFL. To be able to take Kirk Cousins and the Falcons and say, you're not scoring on us anymore, that's a big deal.
So if you're the Steelers, you're gonna...
I cut out.
Yeah, hold on. We'll let you come back in. There we go. You good?
Yeah, what I cut out on?
You were fine. It was fine. It's for my intro here. So if you're the Steelers, did Justin Fields do enough for him to be the starter week 2, or are you going back to Russell Wilson? And I know that they won. They only had 6 field goals, no touchdowns. But is there a world where you play Justin Fields next weekend?
I don't think you saw anything from this game that should make you change your assessment in the offseason. It was a close competition, but we don't know what Russell Wilson is capable of or what he would have done. I do think this game justifies keeping Justin Fields around and making sure that if Russell Wilson struggles, you can put Fields in. But I mean, again, Justin Fields did a nice job not making any big mistakes. But if you look at what happened with them last year, right? Kenny Pickett was pretty good at not making big mistakes for the most part, but his inability to generate touchdowns. I'm sorry, you can't say that a guy deserved the starting job as a quarterback because he was able to get 6 field goals and 0 touchdowns.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think Russ should start game 2. This is just how the Steelers win games. They just find ways. 3 turnovers. The defense takes control. People wonder how Mike Tomlin continuously gets winning records and gets to the playoffs. It's because they're able to win dogfights like this, where they're not able to really get it going offensively, but they make the plays that they have to. And On the Atlanta side, the reason to be concerned is, again, you have a 35-year-old Kirk Cousins coming off an Achilles injury. I think he should be fine, and the offense eventually will get going. But the turnovers can be a problem. Like there are games, as much as we want to talk about Kirk Cousins having arguably the best 2 or 3 game stretch of his career last season with the Vikings, when he's on, he's amazing. But when Kirk is off and he's fumbling and he's throwing some dangerous passes, that's when the Tampa Bay Buccaneers start to raise their eyebrows and say, oh, maybe this division actually is more up for grabs than people are saying. So I don't think there's much reason to panic if you're a Falcons fan just because you only put up 10 points. But it's something to monitor. Who do they have next week? Is next week is it next week Kansas City on like Sunday Night Football?
Yeah, no. So first they have to go and play the Eagles on the road from Monday night. And then after that, they host the Eagles. Yeah, but it's tough starts.
So there's a very real world where the Falcons start this season off 0-3 with the Saints and Buccaneers up next. And those are must wins in that situation. So this is one you wanted if you were a Falcon fan, because it could fall off pretty quick. But so you're monitoring this situation carefully. At Philly and then Kansas City, sorry, Sebastian, that's a little tough right there. Okay, quick blow through of these 2 games, and we'll wrap this up here. The Patriots knocked me out of Survivor Pool. I feel like I lose.
Why would he pick the Bengals? Were a terrible pick anyway.
I know. We said multiple times when scouting New England this offseason that the Patriots were probably not going to win a lot of games, but they weren't going to get blown out of a lot of games either, because Jacoby Brissett is good enough. Like we've seen this now year after year. Jacoby Brissett can keep the lifeboat afloat. Frankly, that's what he can do. And the Patriots defense is going to show up. But in Gerard Mayo's first start, I was just thinking going to Cincinnati, Jamar Chase, I do expect to play. It just seemed inevitable that the Bengals would find a way to win this game. And New England bullied them basically the entire time. Ramondre Stevenson, as a fantasy player, he was falling down draft boards. He ended with 120 yards and a touchdown on the ground. Kind of a statement game from Ramondre as well. I don't have any major takeaway on New England being a playoff threat or anything like that, but this is just going to be a tougher opponent than most people realize throughout the season. And on the Cincinnati side, it's like how many times do we have to go through this now where they just look like dog shit the first few weeks of the season and need to get Joe Burrow like rolling by week 6 or else they're missing the playoff. Like this time he's not hurt. So what are the excuses? Cincinnati can't, like, this is a game you have to win. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I've been saying all offseason that I thought this Patriots team was better than people thought, and even I did not expect this. I mean, yeah, this final score was 16-10. Okay, fine. It was not that close in the sense of the Bengals offense got almost nothing going. You can look at the Patriots defense and say there's a lot of talent there, and sure there is, right? They've got Kyle Duggar, they've got Christian Gonzalez, who was so good last year.
Christian Gonzalez. This isn't a loaded Patriots defense.
No, I mean what I'm saying is it's a decent defense, but Joe Burrow and the Bengals with Jamar Chase, you've got to be able to do better than that. And unfortunately, I don't know. It's as you say, the Bengals frequently get off to these slow starts and then eventually sort of get hot, catch fire, get in their groove, however you want to put it. But you can't afford to be getting off to a slow start if you want to be one of the top teams in the AFC.
That's
right. You're going to Arrowhead next week. You've got to be able to figure out how to score points.
In the past,
and unfortunately, it's just not coming.
In the past, what we've said about the Bengals too is it's that people start to panic and say, "Oh, are they going to miss the playoffs? Like, are they going to be able to sneak in the wild card?" And that's where they've proven so many people wrong, is that they're good enough to come in and knock out some of those teams that are right on the bubble because Joe Burrow is a top 3 quarterback in the NFL when he's healthy. The problem is now, if you're a Cincinnati Bengals fan, you don't want to just get into the wild card because you don't want to go to Buffalo. You don't want to go to Kansas City, even though you showed that you could win there. The Bengals don't have any Super Bowls to show for all this right now. Like, you need those games at home. And when they played Cincinnati at home, didn't they, or Kansas City at home, haven't they crushed them? Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they've been great against those teams in their building. You can't afford these early season sluggish starts, because that's what costs you later in the year with the home field advantage. The Bengals are fine. There's no like, we're done panicking about the Bengals going to the playoffs this early before November. But in terms of getting those 1 seeds, like, yeah, these are the games you can't afford. So they need to fix this ahead of week 2. And we'll move on to the last game we're going to cover here, the Cardinals and the Bills. The Cardinals really gave Buffalo a run for their money today. Most of the game, it felt like Arizona, or most of the first half especially, it felt like Arizona was in control. And then Josh Allen fastens his cape and Superman steps onto the field. But Bills win 34-28. A great win for Buffalo, because this Cardinals team, despite what a lot of people think, other than you, who has them, I believe, in the playoffs.
Yeah.
They're going to be tough all year. Kyler Murray's he's just awesome. Like, there's no other words. He's a great quarterback, and this team is better than people are expecting. But Buffalo, the concern for them is, and you mentioned it off the top, if Josh Allen is not doing everything, it's going to be hard for this team to win. To win against the really good teams in the AFC, and your Lions and your 49ers and those guys. Josh Allen finished 18 for 23, 232 yards, 2 touchdowns, 9 carries on the ground for 39 yards and 2 touchdowns. Outside of him and James Cook, it just didn't feel like there was a lot there. I mean, Dalton Kincaid, where the hell are you, man? 1 catch for 11 yards. Is that you need more from him? It's a Buffalo offense that you have to hope, if you're a Bills fan, in week 6, week 7, you could start getting guys like Keon Coleman and Khalil Shakir going, or else I just don't see where the offense is going to come from.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to make it sound like Josh Allen was perfect, right? Marquez Valdez-Scantling would have had a better stat line if Josh Allen hadn't missed him on that deep throw, or even Josh Allen immediately after is like, shoot, my bad. But yeah, if you thought that this offseason or this Bills season would come down to how well does Josh Allen play, you got confirmation that that's how it's going to be, because in the first half, Bills put up 10 points. Josh Allen just doesn't quite look like he has it, right? There was that horrendous first drive. Things just weren't clicking. He wasn't hitting guys. The rushes weren't going anywhere. Then when Josh Allen decides in the second half, all right, it's time to win this thing, instead of 10 points, you put up 24, and you're able to get things done. And I mean, we saw it, like, Kyler Murray and this Cardinals offense will be good. When Josh Allen is clicking and when he's putting things into his own hands, there are very few offenses that can keep up with him. But you can't ask that from one guy every single game and expect to go on to win 11, 12 games and be a real contender for a Super Bowl, because nobody is that consistent.
That's why I view him as a big MVP candidate, because his numbers are going to have to be off the charts for Buffalo to get to where they want to be. And today they did it. You said it. There are a few teams that can flip the switch like them and just turn it on. Like they took off in the second half, and that's mostly on the shoulders of Josh Allen. So there is concern, despite the win, little concern in Buffalo about how sustainable is this. And if he's taking all these hits, Josh Allen's a physical runner. He's a big bodied guy. But those hits take a toll. We could go back to what we were talking about, CJ Stroud and Anthony Richardson earlier. You want to keep your quarterback as clean as possible. And I know that's really not how Josh Allen plays, but given how much they're going to rely on him this year, at some point those hits do add up. So a little concern for me with Buffalo going forward, but they're still, in my eyes, they're still an elite contender because of the QB there. Again, great week 1 though. All these games outside of the Vikings-Giants that we talked about, super fun, down to the wire. You got red zone on, bouncing back and forth. It always feels like the start of March Madness to me every Sunday during the season. You're cutting to different games and different endings. It's just so much fun. It's great to have football back. The very last thing we'll talk about on today's show, I wasn't able to react much to the Packers game this past Friday night. I was on a flight at the time, and towards the end of the flight, so this is funny. Our show is based on honesty and unbiased perspectives here. So on the flight, I'm touching down in Milwaukee, Wisconsin on Friday night. And within seconds of me hitting the ground, I have my phone up. I'm watching the game, and I see Jordan Love screaming in pain. And I gasped. Because, look, I said on the top of the show, I do not root for the Green Bay Packers. But I do realize the importance of Jordan, and I like Jordan Love. He just seems like a nice guy. And we know the importance of Jordan Love to our channel. When I saw him on the ground, I went, oh my God. Audibly out loud on the plane. People turned around and they just saw me holding my phone going, oh my God, no. And you and Jack sending chats going, oh my God, no. In our group chat. Everything looked like that ACL was gone from, I'm not a doctor by any means, but
but you see the way that knee moved. I don't know whether it's going to be the ACL or whatever. Something went wrong.
Whenever you see the pop, the rubber band look effect ripple down someone's leg, it's like, okay, there goes the Achilles, there goes the MCL, there goes the ACL, like whatever it may be, it's usually something like that. And I guess this is just another example of the blue sky franchise for the Green Bay Packers, because how else, like if that's a Viking quarterback, it's Teddy Bridgewater is probably going to have his leg nearly amputated on something.
Yeah, it's the end of his career.
It's the end of his career. But for Jordan Love, it's a little MCL sprain. So again, very happy for Jordan Love that he, it looks like it's a 3 to 4 week recovery for him.
3 to 6.
3 to 6 weeks. I just want to go real quickly, take a look. Green Bay's schedule over the next few weeks. They have the Colts at home, at Tennessee, hosting the Vikings. I mean, after the Vikings performance today, we have to just chalk that up as a loss right now. So that's 2 losses at least, at the Rams and then hosting the Cardinals. So if I were a Packer fan, what I would want right now, I'd be circling Texans at Packers October 20th as the Jordan Love return, hoping we could survive with maybe a win, maybe 2 out of these next 4 games, be 2-3 going into that Texans-Packers game. And then you have the Jaguars, Lions, Bears, 49ers. That's when you really kind of kick into the next gear of this schedule. What's tough if you're a Green Bay fan is that these are the games you were thinking you were going to win with Jordan Love at the helm, and now they become a lot harder. So if you lose those when the schedule gets difficult and you have Love returning off an injury, now the pressure's on to win those games, or else your playoff lives are sort of in jeopardy. But it could have been a lot worse. Like this could have been a season-ending injury. You're very, very, very happy with the news you received this weekend, given the circumstances. So
yeah, and we'll see. There's conflicting reports from insiders on whether the Packers are going after a veteran quarterback or not, whether they want to bring someone like Ryan Tannehill into the building. But ultimately, I think it seems to me you've got to get someone other than Malik Willis. Malik Willis is simply not a quarterback. And Sean Clifford, I mean, I'm sure he's fine, but you don't want for 3 to 6 weeks, when the difference between winning or losing one of these games could very well be whether you go to the playoffs or not. I respect the Packers and what they do in the quarterback development and whatever. You don't want to put that in Sean Clifford's hands. You just don't. So I expect them to go out and go after somebody. But yeah, it's totally possible they leave this stretch at 2-2, 2-3, 3-3, something like that. And then it's possible Jordan Love comes in, plays hot down the stretch, and leads this team to the playoffs. So as you say, reassuring news for Packers fans. Very different news than, say, fans of the Carolina Panthers got today.
Yeah. Jeez. The real quick, I just want to amend that. The October 13th game, Cardinals-Packers. That's the one I'm circling. So you have Colts, Titans, Vikings, Rams as the 4 you need to survive without Jordan Love. And again, you can already chalk up that Vikings game to a loss, given the debut of Sam Darnold. So you got to win
exactly.
2 of those 3. Yeah, you got to win 2 of those 3.
There's no way the Minnesota Vikings, in a game they really ought to win, going up against the Packers' 2nd or 3rd string quarterback, blow it, right?
Guaranteeing a win right now. What's the date? What's today? September. Does anyone have the date?
It's September 8th, so it's in 21 days.
Yeah, September 8th in 21 days. Yeah, I should have been able to do that. In 21 days, you can guarantee a Vikings win in Lambeau.
Yeah, we're just going to go into Green Bay and win. It's easy.
Producer Zach just hit another anytime touchdown. Mike Evans. Guy's unbelievable. He's unbelievable right now. All right, that'll do it for the week 1 edition of the Paul Farrington Show. A reaction to the 1 o'clock games. Some awesome 1 o'clock games. Still a lot to go on this slate. Ziggy and I will be back a little bit later. Not sure what games we'll be reacting to. Depends, what really gets our attention. But hopefully we'll be back for the Rams-Lions later tonight. So we'll see you guys soon. And congratulations if you won in week 1. See you.